Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast. You asked and we heard you. So this one is entitled Health and Healing Part 2, because we did have some people in the comments who said they were looking forward to a longer discussion about this topic and some specific things within this topic that we will get to. So Perfect. Thank you guys for commenting. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So the last one, we got a lot into things like diet and contracts, things that could influence whether you can heal or the healing process. And we sort of touched on a whole bunch of topics. So we're going to deep dive into a few of those. And the first one is an energetic cleanse. Somebody asked about an energetic cleanse. And I think we've vaguely touched on this a couple of our podcasts.
Talked around the edges of it,
like with
different
crystals and things like that, right? But there are tons of different ways that you can do an energetic cleanse. And the reason we brought that up, I think, in the last episode was because, as you remember, everything starts in your auric field, in your energetic field. And so when there are disturbances in your auric field that you're not aware of or you're not paying attention to, then it just gets more severe until it's affecting your physical body. And your physical body says, hey, hello, I've been trying to get your attention and you're not paying attention. And so then you'll get a symptom, because that's what symptoms are, or injuries or any of these types of things. All it is your body trying to say, hey, there's something misaligned here that we need to work on. Right?
And they may be mysterious symptoms, because there might be symptoms that even if you feel bad enough to go to the doctor's going to tell you there's nothing wrong with you. I can't find anything wrong with you. So
they still might give you a script.
They're probably going to still give you a prescription to something. Yeah.
Sure. They're not going to let you go home empty-handed, because then you're going to think they didn't do their job, right?
Big pharma can't make their money. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Naughty.
Right.
Maybe have to blur that out in case their algorithm is scanning for certain keywords. But anyway, so there are lots of different ways to do an energetic cleanse. I think during the podcast episode that we did on crystals, we talked about selenite. Why don't you grab the selenite?
Okay.
Go off stage right, stage left, just for a moment, and grab a selenite wand.
According to them.
Okay. Stage right.
Had to figure that out.
We're going to grab a prop. Our selenite wand. This is one way you can do an daily energetic sort of upkeep.
I didn't know this one. This is good.
And that one's unpolished. It's best if you can find a polished one or polish one yourself. It's a very messy process to polish it yourself.
Extremely messy. Done it a couple of times.
Why is it better to polish it?
Because I think it splinters a little bit. It's so fragile.
It's not for energetic purposes. It'll work either way. It's just for handling purposes. I guess the technical term would be it's very frangible, meaning it just flakes off. It's look at these two.
New word.
Yes, I understand this word. It's
frangible.
Frangible. It breaks away and splinters very easily. So it's almost like pink insulations you have in your attic. It can get into your skin if you're very sensitive. Your skin's very sensitive. It is water soluble, so it will actually melt in water. So be very careful with that.
I like when it chips off though, because it has these little pixie fine whatevers. And I put those in a little jar, and they just look so cool.
Yeah.
But they're still doing their energetic thing.
Oh yeah.
Right. Can I have it for a second?
Absolutely.
Now we'll get back to the topic.
So for just daily upkeep, like every day energetic cleansing before bed or first thing in the morning or whatever, you just kind of take this around your whole auric field and you just swipe down the body. And then I just sort of brush it down into Mother Earth or something for transmutation. See, you can already, you can't, but I can already see there's some little pieces of, fibers.
And that makes sense to me that would work. It never occurred to me to do that, but because I've held one, I'll typically hold it in my right hand. And when I'm feeling stressed or whatever, and all of it just goes
drains out of it.
Yeah. So it just never occurred to me
Well, I mean, it's also selenite is, we've talked about this, I think, on our crystal episode. Selenite is excellent for cleansing and clearing your crystals. So if it's cleansing and clearing your crystals, there shouldn't be any reason why I can't cleanse and clear your auric field.
That makes sense.
Right. And so what are some other ways that you guys are aware of to?
Well, think about Mark's deal where he has the incense sticks.
Bayerski?
Yeah. And so Mark has Mark Bayarski, he has these incense sticks that have moldavite in it. And he says, you just pinch off a little bit of it, light it up, and then, it's got the
essence
smoke.
of that. Yep.
Do you know? I did not know that. I have not opened the incense that he sent.
Really?
Oh, that is.
I've
Did
been
you know
using
that?
it. Yes, I've been
And
using
you
it.
knew it had moldavite
so
in it?
great.
There's some that have moldavite and others. There's
There's
Wow.
two that he has. And just bring it down and around your system. And like I feel it like that to me. I feel solid after doing it. So
Wow.
big shout out on that one, because it really, to me, makes a difference. And I guess there's, other incense sticks that you can use and stuff. And people sage. But I just found this in particular, the creation of it and the fact that you can just pinch off a tiny little amount and just do that. It's like,
that's
so
neat.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can cleanse your energy of the room with the sage or the smudging sticks. And sometimes when we do an event, we will smudge ourselves. We'll go around and smudge each other. So that's a way to clear your aura as well, energetically.
A very good one.
Yeah. I mean, if you're doing smudging, I think I do that more than anything else. Whether that's
Personally, though?
Personally, yeah.
Oh.
When I'm up here, when I get ready for a client, before I set the room before a client, either whether it's sage or Palo Santo, or those are the primary two that I use. And I'll go around the room, I'll go around myself and kind of set the container for my client. So in that way, I'm cleansing myself of any residual energies that might be around or anything that might be in the room from a previous session. It's all clearing that out of the room or out of the space or out of the container.
And that reminds me, the collective confirmed this. I don't remember what your symptoms were, but we did a personal channeling once, and I asked about whatever the symptom was, and they said that you just had some stagnant energy build up, and that it wasn't bad, or it wasn't because you had clients that had stuff that jumped off of them and clung onto you or any of that kind of stuff. It's just that when you're working in others' energy fields, some of that can hang around a little bit and build up and cause just like a coating, some other kind of coating of dirt that might build up on your car or whatever. Yeah. So good energetic hygiene is important. And you had never really had a process of doing that daily. And it wasn't bothering you really. No. So they just said good energetic hygiene.
But the thing is, it might not bother you, but someone else, even if you're not like very attuned to it, you can just walk into the space and go, this doesn't feel right.
A little sticky, little muddy,
but they don't know why. And so you're just literally clearing that away for them to feel fresh walking in. And
in your room, when you're cleaning your room, clearing a room.
Right. So it might not be for you. It might be for the person coming in.
Right.
I like, my whole thing at this, and this has been gotten to be an obsession lately. I kick off my shoes several times a day and go outside and walk in the grass. And it's become this thing, I tell my husband, like, have you checked the mail? And he's like, no. Or he'll sometimes say yes. And I'll say, well, I'll check it again anyway. I'm looking for an excuse to walk barefoot in the grass down to the mailbox. And it's weird because I have so removed myself from the earth, for so long. I got stung by a bee once wearing flip-flops, long time. I was a kid. And ever since then, I've been so paranoid of that. And things, possibly biting me in the grass or whatever. And as of late, the past couple of months, it's like, I can't get enough. In fact, one day I was having so much trouble and I went outside. I was just frustrated. And I went outside and I literally threw myself into the grass and just laid there. And it was just, I felt like it was sucking up every bit of frustration. There was an exchange occurring. My husband apparently saw it. And he was a little concerned. He came out with a glass of wine for me.
Oh my gosh. But you were having a breakdown?
Right.
And it was just, I needed the grass. Sure. And so I heard, I watched a video and I cannot remember who it was from. It was over the past couple of days. It had to do with the intensity of the solar rays that are hitting us right now. And they were describing it as the solar rays were really the idea that it was coming in. I don't know how true this is, but it sounds right. But it was coming in and affecting the earth, really going deep into the earth, and that the earth was transmuting it, adjusting it, whatever. And it was coming up to feed, all the plants, all of the other things that live on earth, including us. And the best way that we could receive that energy was to go out barefoot.
Get right in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I thought, I maybe that's part of this thing where I just have to get in the grass. But I do that like between clients. I will go out and just stand in the grass.
It's a great way to immediately discharge any of that. Think of it like discharging static energy when you go across a carpet. You drag your feet across a carpet and you've got static built up and you shock your friend or your wife or your cat.
Cat never wants to be around you.
Well, this is the same thing. You're energetically, all that energetic static has built up between clients, between doing things, even if you don't have clients and you're just doing things for yourself, you still, daily evolutions, going to the grocery store, doing whatever, you build up this energetic static. Let Mother Earth discharge that.
Well, and when you're going from one task to another, if you just go and so you can do that through the grounding, or you can do it through running water. One of my other favorite things, which sometimes I get obsessive over this, and I just keep running my hands under the water, and I'm just like, oh my God, this feels so good. And it's weird that feels so good, except I understand why, but just doing that when you're shifting tasks will help clear your head and get you reoriented. And I'm very ADHD about things. And so for me, clearing myself to go to the next thing, it's symbolic, but it's also, it feels better. So there's something behind me doing it.
Yep. And I want to talk more about the water.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. There is an actual harmonic between the earth and humans, such that when we go off planet, for example, astronauts and so forth, if they can only be gone a certain amount of time outside of the Earth's atmosphere, because it's like disconnecting. If you had like a wireless walkie-talkie system or whatever, and you get a certain amount out of range, the transmission is no longer there, right? Same way with humans when they go off planet. There's something about this transmission or communication or energetic connection that has to be made for you to survive.
Well, you're disconnecting from the Schumann resonance, which is the life force of the planet.
Oh,
correct.
Wow.
Correct. And so I think they talked about this in the origin story, that if we were to colonize Mars, we cannot live there for any length of time until we figure out how to keep that link to Earth, how to keep that frequency link. So they insinuated that we would have to create by artificial means some sort of frequency that was reverberating within whatever community we lived in.
Interesting.
You can, as a human, you cannot live off Earth. There are beings, excuse me, that will take humans to their planet sometimes. I assume physically. I've heard stories that people actually physically get taken other places. And they know that they can't stay very long. They have to come back, or they'll have to permanently transition and stay there. Yeah. So anyway, fun fact. But water.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. Don't try to leave Earth.
Right.
It's just not healthy.
Don't build your own rocket.
Not healthy for your body. But the water is fantastic. We channeled the consciousness of water for our friend Candace Curl Goldman for one of her courses.
Oh my gosh.
She contracted with us to do that. And it was fascinating information. I don't know if she ever put that
book. This is your next book. Channeling the elements. Would that not seriously channeling the elements and just like, oh my God, that would be
I wonder if that's what I told you guys that the elements, the elementals, the fairies and all of that were trying to get in touch with me the past couple of weeks. Maybe that's why. Oh boy, here we go. Once we finish this project. But at any rate, there was a lot of cool information about water. But one of the things was that there is an alchemy that happens when you put salt in water. Literally, it becomes more than just salt water. It's an alchemy, an energetic process. So another way to energetically cleanse is to take salt baths, Epsom salt or Himalayan salt or whatever kind of salt you feel drawn to. maybe with a few drops of your favorite essential oil or something like that. And there are recipes of all kinds of stuff you can put in your bath. But salt is very healing and important, or going out to the ocean and getting in the salt water.
Yes.
I've been doing a couple of salt baths lately, Epsom salt baths. It's hard to say Epsom salt bath.
I know, right?
And we had run out of the other stuff that we use that we typically get at the pharmacy. And so my husband had some Epsom salt in our pantry. And I know it had been there for a while. And it's weird because when you start following, however, like your nudges, the energetic, whatever, I used it, but I was like, I really should not be using this. And I don't know why, because it's not like
doesn't
baking
really
soda.
go bad.
Right, yeah.
It just kind of dries, gets the humidity pulled out of it or whatever.
But okay, so interestingly enough, our pantry is also a partial bath. It's a half bath. And so bathroom, toilet. So people love going to the bathroom in our bath because they're always reading and looking at all this stuff that, we buy at the store. So anyway, and the bag had been open, but it had been sealed back up.
Sure.
But I don't know what it is. For some reason, it didn't feel right to me.
Energetically, you were not
But
aligned.
you used it.
Yeah.
I used it,
And what
but
happened?
I also put the first time I used it and I was kind of like, well, that didn't do much for me. I really didn't feel like it did much for me. The next time I put oils in it.
Yeah.
And I felt much like I don't know. All in my
Interesting.
head maybe, but for whatever reason, it did not feel right.
Interesting.
But I mean, I'm not like a chemist, but wasn't salt used in the olden days? It was very important because it was a preservative for food and things.
Yeah.
So gold wasn't important. Salt was important. And if you had salt, you could preserve your food and keep your food longer. So I would imagine if it helps you keep food longer, then the salt itself would keep long. Right?
I just feel like maybe I should have put it on selenite or did a selenite wand or something. I don't know why I was so weird about it.
It's interesting.
It just didn't. Or maybe it just felt different than my other stuff because the other stuff had oils in it.
That
and
could be
this
too.
did not.
Sure.
So it wasn't quite giving me what my body was craving. And that's why I added the oil the next time. But anyway,
Oh, maybe so.
that's interesting that it actually does the alchemy thing. But isn't it, okay, so isn't it all about ions charging, like negative to positive, all that kind of stuff?
I don't know. I barely made it. I made
Come
it
on,
through high
Bill,
school.
I'm entering into a sciencey area.
From the sciencey world, yes, that's you're changing the ionic connections when you make a salt bath or whatever, and your body takes those electrons in. I mean, salt is the primary thing that helps your the whole entire system, the nervous system, fire off appropriately. So it does require a certain amount of salt in it, so it can be absorbed through the skin, it can be taken in through the mouth. I mean, there's many different ways, but that's why too it is helpful to go and sit in the ocean and just, if nothing else, just sit and let the water surround you, because there is that
And that's why it's so
cleansing,
healing.
I love
purifying
the ocean.
purifying
When it's
aspect
warm.
of it. Yeah.
And when there's no jellyfish.
And there's no sharks. I sent you that picture of there was a shark off of Hilton Head, actually on Hilton, on the beach, like in the water, as close as it could possibly get, in like 2 feet of water. And I'm sorry, that's not okay, because
That's
it was
too
like
close.
15 feet. It was a huge shark.
No, that's not okay.
But growing up, so my parents were going through their divorce. It was really bad. And we were like second row back from the beach at that time. And every day that, I'd feel the tension, I'd go running down to the beach and I would run in one direction as far and fast as I could till I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And then I would go in the water. And I never really thought about why I was doing it. I just knew that it felt better.
Yeah.
And then, I learned later on how beneficial that is, but that's part of why the Low Country is so popular and coming out, along the coast, because that water is so salty.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very healing.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of the, like, when I feel like I need to cleanse and stuff, getting in a salt bath, I think that neutralizes whatever's going on in my body.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. So next kind of segue is food items. We briefly touched on food and how there's not really one diet that works for everybody and all of that, but talking about high vibrational foods that keep you healthy and that work with your body. Interestingly, just the other day, I heard Mark Bayerski was talking about a study that he kind of an informal study that he did with fresh foods. And he had a way to test the energy of the food. And I guess he was living when he was younger on a farm area that had a lot of fruit trees and different things like that. So he would pick a piece of fruit, and he said that the life force in it, maybe he was just testing it psychically, I think, the life force in it waned after about 30 minutes. Imagine how nutrient less our food is now when it's coming from God knows where across the other side of the globe. It's been frozen or stored somewhere. And by the time we get that apple, it's months old, right?
Picked before it's completely ripe and then artificially ripened on the way over.
And people, it's generally being transported by people who are not happy and frustrated and stuff. And so the food's just kind of withering, because of that alone, because in fruit, I'm just expanding this one thing further, is water, and water picks up on emotion.
Sure.
So
good point.
I did this, this light healing thing way back when, and I don't know why I don't do this more often, but what they were doing was purifying and basically I think what they were doing is recharging the food that was in front of them, because it has a life force. But if we're cognizant about that this has been depleted, then it would also seem like if it's energy, we're energy, that we should be able to affect, revive. I don't know. That would be an interesting water test to take some water, do something to it, and then just try to do light healing and then freeze it again and see if it comes out in more, interesting
that
crystals.
would be, test 1 and then test 2. But various high level beings have told us over and over that we can influence that. So if you have, the only thing you have is a banana that's however long old, you can energetically charge it, that you are so powerful. And your belief system can energetically charge that water or anything that you're taking in. Of course, the ideal situation, because there's never a right or wrong, but the ideal situation is to have fresh fruits and vegetables that you have picked yourself and you're eating it raw or close to raw without high heat. And all of that. They're going to be the highest vibrational foods. If you are drawn to eat meat, I think that we are eventually, as humans in our light body, going to shy away from or move away from eating animals. I think that right now some people still need to eat animals. I'm not telling you that you have to be vegan. But my understanding was when we were in Lemuria and we were energetic beings, we didn't eat animals, but in order for us to secure the density of the 3D, we needed to do that because that's what holds you in the 3D physicality is the heavy, dense food.
And
like that.
And I'll agree with that to a certain extent. I've been trying to, go along and follow Allison's path of being plant-based as much as I can.
Because it's healthy for you. Because you've gotten off medication.
No, it's not just because of that, but it has made myself healthier. I was able to eliminate a number of the medications I was on. But there are moments that my body says, I need meat protein. And you bring up a good point because I do feel like as if I'm being grounded much more densely when I eat that. And the only, the only thing I've been really consuming is chicken and a little bit of seafood, but mainly chicken. And it doesn't take a lot. One chicken breast, a couple chicken wings, and I'm satisfied for an extended period of time. But it's at those moments that I have to listen to my body. And this is, we talked about this before, it is knowing your body and understanding how it reacts and what foods I'll say craving, because that's your body's indication that you're needing something.
Once you've moved through sugar, like you gotta unhook yourself from sugar, I think. And you can read your body a lot more clearly.
Sure.
Yes. Because your body might crave something sweet, but it doesn't want the sweet cookie. It wants the sweet apple. But like to me, the apple didn't taste sweet until I got rid of sugar. And then I was like, oh my God, this apple, where have you been all my life? I had no idea that you were so sweet.
Right.
So
but I know, and I may have mentioned this in the last one. I know it is somewhat seasonal, but I know when I need more citrus. I know when I need more vegetables. I know when I need certain things in my diet, and it's for short periods of time. And it's because my body's going through some sort of change at that point, and I have to honor that.
Right. And we talked about this at length. I don't want to get into it again. The reason I was bringing that up is because if you are still eating animals, then you want the highest vibrational animals that you can find. And those are going to be ones that are truly farm raised by loving farmers who
Ethically
have
raised,
humane ways to slaughter the animals. So that they don't have that fear and adrenaline running through their body, or ones that were loved for their life, not just because they were stuck in a little pen or whatever. So it's important to know where your food is being sourced so that you're getting the highest vibrational nutrient in your body. So that's what we're talking about for health and healing,
right?
And high vibration.
Well, and I'm going to add this on, and y'all might disagree with this, but in this reality, we also might be on a budget and can't afford to do that.
Yep.
Like if I go buy my own meat, I can buy organic, I can buy from local farm if it's just for me. But if I'm, buying it for, well, I don't buy it. My husband will go out and buy it, and he'll buy whatever's the most cost saving,
Sure.
That he can get. And, so for me, so if you can't do that, you can't at this time reach for that higher level, at least think in terms of what's your intention, offering light, doing what you can to purify that food so that it's and going into it this is going to be good for my body, not like I got to eat this crap because it's all I have.
Yes.
Right.
So I think the main, your intention, the overarching thing that I would say is stay away from processed foods.
Yeah.
If, as much as you can do staying away from the processed foods, then you're on a better track with it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring that up, because that's exactly right. That's exactly how I feel. Is if I can afford, like for myself, that, couple chicken breasts that I know that have been, ethically raised and ethically, humanely, processed, then I will. But if I go out to a restaurant or whatever, but I'm craving chicken wings, or I'm craving something like that, I'm going to order it. But as I'm getting ready to eat, I'm in my head, thanking it for the sustenance that it's going to give me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to, allow it to be at that moment. I don't do rituals or anything like that, but I am cognizant of what I'm eating at the time, and I energetically allow that to be accepted.
I'm getting it's interesting that you say that. And maybe this is also what you mean, but this is, I just keep getting this nudge, so I have to say it. But whoever sends me these things are saying, you need to be doing that through your heart, not your head.
Well,
so you're doing it through your heart. That's what I was saying. I didn't want to I'm not correcting.
No, I'm not thinking.
But just for anyone who's listening to it,
right? It's a sensing process that takes place.
That gratefulness that you're surrounding it with. That they just that needed.
No, that's a good point.
Whatever reason, sorry.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Anytime they have something to say about the heart, we're open to that.
We got it.
That's the most important
say
thing.
it, or they'll keep irritating. Sorry, not irritating.
They'll keep poking you,
suggesting it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're just talking about in a perfect world. We're talking about high vibrational foods.
Yes.
It is what it is. You can only do, you're human, and we all have constraints and issues and whatever. But I will add this caveat. When you get to the point where you are getting some, and you may not get it all the time, just maybe about one or two topics, but when you get a hint that you're supposed to do something or act in a certain way or whatever, your higher self is going to clear the path. So if it's about, I feel like I need to be a vegan and I need to eat all organic, and I'm like, how am I going to afford to do that? Don't worry about how you're going to afford to do that. If you are, beyond the shadow of a doubt, you're getting guidance to do this thing. Follow it and everything. So if you show that you have the faith and you're willing to step forward on that faith, the path will be made clear for you. So
that's a good point.
We also can't sit back and just go, oh, well,
I can't do it. So
I can't afford it, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. It's shifting those intentions. So, the whole law of attraction thing, it's opening up for that source to come through.
Yeah.
Right. So we just do the best we can daily. I mean, nobody's perfect. We're human. We're here. We have struggles. It's just the way it is. So we're just talking in a perfect world.
And don't put pressure on yourself. I mean, honor what you're sensing.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
And if what you're sensing is like a warm brownie with ice cream on top, and that's really what you're sensing and you need it in that moment, go for it.
Without guilt.
Because yes, without guilt. Because sometimes that's just and then figure out later why you had to do that.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you. I yep.
We have
if I want my dessert, I'm going to have my dessert.
We both ate our dinner last night. We had this craving for some dessert, some kind of dessert. And we heard this new ice cream place called, of all things, Alien Cow.
Yeah.
It's a new ice cream place over here in
that was calling you.
Right. And they have some vegan options.
So I look it up on my phone and they're open till 9 and it was 8:10. I'm like, let's go. So we get in the car, we drive over there and the dang place was closed. It closed early, I guess. I don't know what the deal was.
So what did we do? We went to the grocery store and went on a junk food binge.
Oh no. See, that's the problem. Like when you don't get that thing fulfilled, then.
But we bought some vegan healthy desserts, kind of.
Some vegan cookies, a couple bag of chips, I mean.
Well, but okay. So therein, lies the morals that when you have that feeling inside of you for that particular sweet, one, you try to find the most natural homemade version, whatever that you can. But also that you do honor it, because otherwise, and everybody who's dieted for years and years knows this, if you don't give into that, it builds, that resistance builds and builds. And so what you resist persists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just become angry and you just become bitter.
Angry and exactly. All the things.
And then you go buy out half the grocery store.
Exactly.
We're pacing ourselves. We're pacing ourselves. We didn't eat it all in one night.
No, we didn't.
Well, you got to set away so if it comes. But see, I find, so where I'm at with all of that is that I get what it is that I feel like I wanted. It's not what I needed, what I wanted. And then it sits there. Like I don't end up eating it. And it's the weirdest thing. And I'm like, I am wasting money. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going through a process here. And it is the strangest thing to be going through.
It's a growth point. It's a growth point. It's you're changing your perspective of what you actually think you need versus what you actually need. It's because we do give into a lot of our cravings. We do. And this isn't just for food, into our cravings for different things. And it comes, and we've talked about discernment before. It comes down to, really refining that action of discernment, refining that action for ourselves of what we really need. Because the impulse is going to say, oh, I want those Oreos and I'm going to have those Oreos. But you may buy them, set them on the counter. And by the time you get home, you go, yeah, I don't think I want those Oreos. And then there they sit.
Yeah, just don't eat them in the car. Because then seriously, by the time you get home, well, it's like when you make meals.
Yeah.
By the time you finish making a meal, it's just, you're so done. Like, don't need, and you don't want to eat it. And I think it's because, and it's not that you've been tasting it so much. That for me is not it. It's just, I don't know if you're actually picking up the energetic vibes from the food itself while you've been preparing it.
I don't know.
Yeah. That thought just popped into my head because I know sometimes I just feel satiated and I'm like, and I sit there with this plate in front of me and I'm just kind of picking at it because it's weird.
Well, sometimes you can actually smell a food, and if you smell it for a minute or two, it will make you
take away the craving.
Yeah.
You can do that with chocolate. You can do that with a couple different things. Yeah.
But anyway, we digress. Okay, so one of the other things that can block healing or health is the benefit that you're receiving from whatever it is that you think you need healed, right? So we've learned a lot about this in our spiritual hypnosis sessions among myself and other practitioners when we chat. And I know this from a counseling perspective also. I think Dr. Glasser, who's famous for reality therapy, and I love him, I think it was he that talked about you have to figure out, like for children, if they're misbehaving, what benefit are they getting from that misbehavior? Because if you don't target that and the changeover, the better behavior is not satisfying more than the misbehavior, then they're not going to have a need to change their behavior. Same thing with your health. So we may have briefly mentioned this before when we have a lot of veterans who are taking a lot of meds or they're having a lot of problems and they're going to the VA and stuff, and they may come and they want some healing. But in the back of their mind, do they really want the healing? Because they're thinking of all
Mhm.
these things that'll happen as a result of the healing. Oh, well, then I won't maybe get my disability benefit, or then I won't get the attention that I'm getting. A lot of people pay attention to me because, oh, they feel sorry for me or whatever.
Mhm.
So they're getting attention, whether it's good or bad attention.
I've heard that as the secondary benefit.
So the secondary benefits are those outweighing, the healing, the potential
benefit of
for
the healing,
healing. And
yeah.
sometimes it's really hard to figure that out when you have a client, or even
Mhm.
maybe yourself. Do I really
Well,
want? Do I really want the healing?
if that symptom or illness or whatever it might be has been so persistent for so very long, it becomes your persona.
Your identity.
It becomes your identity.
Well,
And so it's very hard to unwind that identity once it's settled in.
Oh yeah.
Because who
Yeah.
am I without that?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Well, and so when you say, how do you look at that? And for me, when I'm talking to my clients, I say, okay, if this was resolved,
Mhm.
if we could get you, say, to stop smoking,
Mhm.
whatever that is, then what is that next thing in line? Or that's not it. It's I thought of it right when you guys were talking, and that went right out of my head. But it's looking at if this has been resolved, you just feel, where is that next bit of resistance? It'll pop up, because a lot of times I've found that I'll resolve something with a client and then they turn around, they keep doing it. And it's like, what's
Mhm.
going on here?
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's hard in the moment for them to ask themselves. So they'll come back saying, yeah, I'm still doing it. And it's like, okay, so, we're trying to pick apart what that
Mhm.
secondary
Yeah.
benefit
Right,
is.
Yeah.
right.
And it could be a third and a fourth and a fifth benefit,
Mhm.
because it's, the smoking, is horrible. And so you're doing it for your health, but it was also because you could take a break, a smoke break,
Right.
or because then, you won't get flack from the people who are your smoker friends that you're not smoking, or drinking or whatever. So there's all these other things that you have to just keep feeling the resistance.
Very good point.
And that's very similar to, and this is kind of outside of this realm, but I think it does apply. And in the quality realm, we have something called the 5 whys of root cause analysis. So if something is broken, you sit around a table with everybody that would be involved with it, and you why it to death. You just ask a question. Well, why did it do this? Why did it do that? As you get an answer to that, why did it do this? And as you keep burrowing down, you finally get to the root cause. This is the same thing with, okay, well, smoking is just one aspect. Well, why do you smoke? Okay, well, I smoke because of this. Okay, why do you do that? And then why do you do that? And why do you do that? And eventually you'll find that there's actually some sort of root cause for what is being presented at the moment.
Now, see, in my world, because you just said root, in my world, it's called a belief tree.
Okay.
And it's, what must I believe is true about myself to be smoking?
Yeah.
And then, but what that's targeting is more your emotional state of being, rather than, the physical that's around you. It's really, really cool to, what must I believe is true about myself, to
peeling that onion away and getting down to it, down to the
so it's
core.
a what, not a why, but it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Getting to the root.
Yeah. So there you go. Another reason why healing may not happen with either yourself or a client, perhaps.
And also because it's, there's something in your contract, that, which just seems kind of counterproductive or whatever.
I think
but
we got into that in the first one. We did talk about contracts, but go ahead and see if, might be another nuance.
You need to stay in that place of non-healing, because it's giving other people the experience of dealing with someone who's not healing or, or whatever. It's, which to me, that seems really perverse. But somebody, it's like somebody has to be the bad guy. Somebody has to be the
antagonist and all that. Sure. And in that, sure, you may have certain traits that may seem to be detrimental to you, but it's actually a reflection for somebody else, for their actual growth and their awakening and their healing or whatever it might be. Sure.
And like, you can go to a psychic, you can go to a channeler, you can go to, and get some of these answers, but you can also really just, if you can get clear about it with yourself, is just to sit there and say, okay, what would be the reason for me not healing? Who's benefiting around me? So instead of saying, how do I benefit? Who's benefiting around me? And that might give you some clues as to, it is just to entertain the possibility.
Sure.
It's not to sit there and go, oh, well, now I'm a martyr because I'm doing this,
For somebody else.
Or to blame
Yeah.
others. For
Yeah.
You're
It's-
not healing.
It's
Yeah.
just because you're asking the questions, you're wondering why, and and I don't know, then maybe put it out there for it to
Mhm.
wrap itself up.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. Next
One.
segue.
Ding.
Right.
Boom. How many seconds on that? So the other aspect of healing and something that we can impact, and Maria, when we interviewed Maria Fink, she talked about this a little bit, is this aspect of sending positive energy to doctors, to procedures, to the rooms where surgeries, for example, might take place, and all of that kind of thing. So in terms of health and healing, we can also have an impact before we head out to the hospital or to a doctor's visit or something like that.
Or even I was just
And
thinking to a
after.
pharmacist.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that
To get
reminds me,
advice.
we just had a friend who had a question on our message night. I think it was a month ago on the message night, and you can re-listen to that if you want messages from the collective. By the way, we do those free of charge on Zoom and in person, the second Thursday of every month at 7:30 p.m. And the next
So
day we
good.
put them up on the YouTube channel. So this one is on there. You can look at the highlights of the topics that we talked about that night. Anyway, so it was about medication, and this particular pill he was taking for an incident that he had was causing a bad reaction.
Yep.
And so he asked why, and they said, well, what he could do about it. And they said, you can take the pill and you visualize it breaking apart, activating only the piece that needs to interact with your body, deactivating the rest of the medication, bring it back together, and then take the pill. So you're doing a visualization process that is actually accomplishing. So isn't that amazing?
Cool.
Right.
So you can make it so that your body will take in only what's needed and flush the rest. And at the point that you actually energetically clear the issue, the medication will just become inactive. Even if you took it, it'll just be inactive in your body.
I think that's kind of the process before, back in 2020. I finally, because of pressure, I bent and ended up getting we just don't talk about that stuff out loud. But I remember saying to my brother, I have to get right in my head about it before I do it.
Sure.
And the getting right in my head about it was moving beyond fear and moving into that space of, this will only do positive for me, and anything that could, be negative will simply not exist.
Right.
And and it took me several weeks to move into that space amidst all of the stuff on TV and all that kind of stuff. I stayed really grounded in that thought when I did it. And I didn't have any issues, because of it, but, and there's all kinds of reasons why, maybe not, whatever. But so that's I didn't realize that. And I was sitting there going, wow. And I was like, oh my God, I did that.
It goes back to intention setting. You're setting an intention that whatever, whether it's a flu shot, whether it's just even whatever it might be, if you, the day before, whatever, you set the intention that this is going to be the outcome that you are aligning with, well, then everyone will play their role appropriately for that outcome. But if you just blindly go into things, and I'm guilty of that. I think we might all be guilty of that. It's just
because your nerves get the best of you, and you start building that scenario.
Exactly. So, but if I know I'm going, like I had some crown work done, and that as I'm sitting in the office before I went back, I remembered Maria's thing, and I sat there for just it didn't take long, just a couple of minutes, just to kind of energetically charge, the space, and that's it. And then they called me back, and everything went swimmingly, and I'm one of these oddballs that don't get numbed up when I do that work. I had an entire crown replaced without any.
What?
Yes. Yeah. I'm strange. Yeah. So, but
it's only with dental work though, because there's a lot of other things that
they're your baby about.
Yes.
it's only because you're around. If you're not around, then I don't,
Oh, it's
that mother syndrome.
You weaken his energy is like
Oh my
force
gosh.
field somehow.
And then I'm so unsympathetic.
Yes.
I'm so mean.
But getting back to that, it is, I don't do that all the time, but when it crosses my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do that. So then I just take a couple minutes and just visualize. And I think, I know, it's those moments where you might be immersed in something that might otherwise be very traumatic for you that you're going to be going into. But if you can just take a moment while you sit in your car before you even leave the house, just to send positive vibes. That's all you got to do. Send positive vibes to whatever you're about to do. Then the universe is going to work with you. The universe is never going to conspire against you. It's always going to be there for you.
And it's never going to work against you. It's giving you exactly what you want. So if you're walking in fear and saying, oh my God, this could go wrong 19 different ways. Well, the universe will pick one.
Yep. Or 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
They'll kick the door wide open and go, here you go. This is what you wanted. So,
and there's the caveat. And this is like such a disclaimer that I feel like it's so weak, but I've learned, take these things into account, is that if it doesn't go the way that you envision it, you can ask. I mean, I wouldn't sit there and ask why. I would move to that. Well, that's interesting because there's some other
lesson.
There's something else going on there. And so it doesn't mean, that we wish these things, then we change our mind and go, well, that's okay because of this. It's because there is literally something else going on there.
Yes.
So
many times so.
Right. And what I will say, and this kind of goes hand in hand with health and healing, in that I think moving forward, where we're going and evolving, is we can't live out of integrity anymore. So I think when you're making choices, whether it's the food you eat or the things that you do or anything, like I explained my love of the sun and wanting to be in the sun, and any of these choices, you have to make them from a place of integrity. So I frankly think it's more important, if you're doing something that is not right for you and you do it anyway, whether because of fear or pressure, peer pressure, any of that stuff, I think that's going to be more harmful than just going the uncomfortable route in the first place that you're a little bit nervous about. But if you go ahead and do something that and a lot of people, it was the C, because they felt pressured into doing it. And they knew if you go up there and you're at the pharmacist's office ready for the shot and that you're not supposed to do it, anything, it doesn't have to be that, and you do it anyway, I think that's detrimental to your energetic field also. And I just don't think we're going to be able to keep doing that any longer. It's like lying to yourself. It's like hiding
harder and harder to lie.
Hiding your true identity with anything, whether it's hiding your spiritual self, or not living true to yourself.
You can take that example, and if anybody's willing to take this challenge on,
what?
Pick your most favorite food, set it in front of you, and get really angry at it. Get really angry at that food. Get really angry at yourself. Really put yourself in a really horrible place while you're getting ready to eat something you absolutely enjoy.
I know.
And see how it makes you feel. Because what you so much love about that piece of food isn't going to taste the same, because you've just affected the entire field around you. This is the same thing. You go into the pharmacy, you go into the doctor, and even just for a checkup, and you go into the doctor and you're already pissed off because you got to go to the doctor. Well, of course,
sure.
It's going to, it's changing the whole dynamic of your existence. But if you take a food that you really don't like, for you, Brussels sprouts. I mean, you like them better now.
Not the way you cook them.
Right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But if you take a food that you really don't like and you just sit there and you just sit in
and appreciate it,
in an appreciative mode, a heartfelt gratitude towards what you're about to eat,
even if it's cold spinach.
I like that experiment better than the angry one.
Yeah.
But choose which one you wish to experiment with.
Because in the angry one, you're also releasing toxins in your body.
Right.
Yeah,
because
I don't want to be angry.
But that's my point. You're changing the whole dynamic, not only of your physical system, your energetic system about what you're going to eat. You're changing the energy and what you're changing it all. So it's all going to have a negative effect on you.
Which is why better to eat with gratitude.
Well, and Emoto already proved that when they had the water bottles lined up and the school children or whatever taped bad words on some or screamed at it or whatever.
Well, I was going to say so today on my way up here, I stopped off at CVS, and there was a woman in line in front of me, and they said, "Oh, so do you want to get your flu shot today?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't have time today." And she goes, "Is that covered by Medicare?" And they're like, "Oh, yes, it is." And she's like, "Great. So I could bring my child in too." And they're like, "Yeah." And they, "Do you want to schedule it today?" And she said, "Well, I need to, sorry, I can't do it right now. Let me reschedule." Like she was apologizing that she couldn't do it right then. Do I need to, and this whole exchange is going back and forth. And that pharmacist is smiling and making it as easy as possible for this person to come back in to get this flu shot. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there just going, no way in hell. I can't. For me, flu shots they're a hard no. My aunt had gotten Guillain-Barré from a sinus thing, which there is connection with the shot with that, with the flu shot. And when you sign and say, yes, I'm willing to take this shot, which I may get Guillain-Barré, and having seen it firsthand, it's like, there's no overcoming that one for me. But I fully believe that the flu is not going to affect me like that.
Right.
Yes, if I get it, I get it.
Yeah.
But it is infinitely more enjoyable than I just can't put my mind in that space.
Sure.
And everybody has their line in the sand, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you're
honor
living in integrity. Yes.
Yeah,
because you're
absolutely.
honoring that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's the point that you were making.
And not everybody will make that same decision.
Exactly.
Some people are fine. I had the flu shot for 30 years running, probably because early on when I first met you, I think it was, I was in bed for 3 weeks with the flu because I didn't have the shot. And in my mind, I made this connection. Okay, I didn't have the flu shot. I should have. And I got the flu and it was terrible. For 3 full weeks, I was like in the bed. I had to call my dad to come over into my apartment and let my dog out because I couldn't get out of the bed.
Yep.
So I thought, I'm not doing that again. So I've done the flu shot for 30 years. And then ever since 2020, I've decided to reevaluate all of that. And I don't guess I've had any ill effects from it. It's just everybody's got their own situation, right? And so you have to live with integrity and not let other people influence your decision one way or the other.
Even what we're saying here.
Yeah.
Right.
If it feels right to you,
Right.
to eat a diet that, you're comfortable with the processed foods and stuff like that, and you have no qualms about it, we're not sitting here going, the conversation was encompassing, moving into that higher vibrational feeling, optimal health and so forth. So you can choose to do whichever it is you want. These were just guidelines, recommendations. If you want to.
Who was it that was saying that you can, if you believe the spoonful of dirt that you're going
Esther
to eat?
Hicks, right?
Esther Hicks. Esther Hicks.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of good stuff in dirt.
Right. If you believe that spoonful of dirt is good for you to eat and it's going to be healthy for you, well, then it's going to be.
Except, and I think we might have gone this
We
round
probably
again.
did. I think so.
Because I have to say that, we agreed to certain laws of physics here.
Right. No, I understand.
And so, if there's a rock in that and you decide to ingest it, well,
you're going to have a problem.
In my 55 years of living on this planet, I'm probably have eaten a 5-gallon bucket of dirt. So,
well, and I know I specifically joyously ingested dirt because I was at the Jelly Belly factory in Sacramento, I think it was, California, Fairfield, something like that. And they were making they had created the dirt jelly bean.
Oh, right.
And they use 100% refined dirt.
They do?
It is top grade. Yes, it's dirt.
Oh my!
And it is the
gosh.
highest level of dirt.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I willingly ate that.
What about the buttered popcorn one? That was my favorite. Did they use actual buttered
So good.
popcorn in there?
Oh, they're serious about those
I don't eat it anymore,
concoctions.
but
What they say it tastes like, it's because they've actually
They use the extract.
they're
did
not.
you eat all the other ones, like the Harry Potter ones, like the booger one? And
Well, there's not boogers, but
now
it does.
Now
But,
we really digress.
yeah. But the dirt was dirt.
Yeah.
And the schnoz was snozberry. Yeah.
Right.
how funny. Well, I
Yeah.
think we've covered the whole gamut of things that we missed the first time around. If not, let us know again. And we will pick it up where we left
We'll
off.
circle this train around again.
But if you enjoyed what you saw, please do share this with your friends that you think might enjoy it. And go ahead and hit the notification bell and subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. That's kind of helpful. But we love your comments. Really, that's the most important thing. So thanks again for watching. And until next time.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.